Well, so now I'll be explaining the some machine learning algorithms. That is, so to start with, I will commence with linear regression machine learning algorithms. So this is that you can see on the screen here that I have mentioned here. So there's some I now I'll explain and these mathematical things, mathematical equations rather, the matrix and these equations polynomials that I'll be explaining. Now let's talk about linear regression. What is the linear regression machine learning algorithm here? Now perhaps one of the most common and comprehensive statistical machine learning algorithms linear regression. Linear regression is used to find a linear relationship between one or more predictors. The linear regression has two types, simple regression and multiple regression, MLR. So now I'll be explaining on the linear regression here. Now, machine learning is commonly used in diverse fields to solve difficult problems that cannot be readily solved based on computer approaches. The linear regression is one of the simplest and most common machine learning algorithms. It's a mathematical approach used to perform predictive analysis. Linear regression allows continuous or real or mathematical variable projections. Well, Sir Francis Galton first suggested the concept of linear regression in 1894, way back in 1894. So, linear regression is a mathematical test used for evaluating and quantifying the relationship between the considered variables. Univariate regression analysis, chi-square exact testing by Fisher and t-testing, and variance analysis ANOVA and OVI cannot be used to take into account the outcomes of the other covariates or founders in the analysis. Therefore, partial correlation and regression are tests which enable scientists in understanding the relationship between two variables to assess the impact of confusions. Linear regressions is commonly used in mathematical research methods where it is possible to measure the predicted effects and model them against multiple input variables. It's a method of data evaluation and modeling that establishes linear relationship between variables that are dependent and independent. This method would thus model relationship between a dependent variable and independent variable from the analysis and learning into the current training results. Yeah. Now, an inclusive, so that's fine. Now, the particulars of each process are often as used algorithms, databases, accuracy, and performance. Now, let's come to the theory of the linear regression. Now, what's regression here? So, regression is a technique used for two theories. First, regression analysis are regression analysis are usually used for forecasting and prediction, in which the application has major overlaps with the area of machine learning. Secondly, regression analysis can be used in some cases to determine causal relations between the independent and dependent variables. Importantly, regressions alone show only relations between a dependent variable and a fixed dataset collection of different variables. Now, regression models. According to the regression models, the independent variables predict the dependent variables. A regression analysis estimates dependent y variable value due to the range of independent variable values x. I will discuss linear regression and polynomial regression now in this video. That bit of is the predictive model. Regression may either be a simple linear regression or multiple regression. Now let's talk about simple linear regression. Simple linear regression is a case model with a single independent variable. Simple linear regression defines the independence of the variable y. Now this one, if you see on the screen, this shows the This one is basically the regression, simple linear regression. Simple regression distinguishes the influence of independent variables from the interaction of dependent variables. Well, now multivariate linear regression, MLR. MLR is a statistical technique to predict the result of an answer variable using a number of explanatory variables. The object of MLR is to model the linear relationship between the independent variables x and a dependent variable y that will be analyzed. Well, the basic model for MLR is this, that you can see here, this one. This equation here, this polynomial, explains the MLR, multivariate linear regression. The formula to determine the formula matrix is here that I mentioned here, this one, this formula, this one, and this one, this matrix that you can see on the screen, this matrix as well. Well, now this is MLR, multivariate linear regression. Now let's focus on polynomial regression. Now, polynomial regression is a type of regression analysis in the nth degree polynomial modeling of the relationship between independent and dependent variables. Now, polynomial regression is a special case of MLR in which the polynomial equation of data blends in with curvilinear interplay of the dependent and independent variables. Model of polynomial is this one that I mentioned here. So this is not for multivariate linear regression MLR. This is for polynomial regression. I only mentioned that for multivariate linear regression MLR, but this is for polynomial regression. Well, that's fine. Now let's come to case of least square method. The least square method used to find the best fit curve or line for one set of data points by reducing the amount of the squares of the offsets or residual part of the points of the curve. The LSM or least square method in the linear regression model used to find B0 or B1 predictions such that the cumulative squared distance from the real yi responds this one. So this part will be out, this epsilon will be out, it will be I and it will be y. So this is the idea. Now this is a framework, a framework has been developed for the use of linear regression in the evaluation of the software features, defined applications using code vectors based on the software instructions. Experiments have been conducted to test the suggested method. All the experimental findings suggest that the linear regression can be an efficient way to classify related software and software analysis. To conclude, a well-designed machine learning model can be easily used in software analysis. The use of machine learning in information analysis would also enhance comprehension of software functionality. Now, Xing and Wang used MLR algorithm to, that is multivariate linear regression algorithm, to calculate its weight which eliminates redundancy between attributes. Proposed a weighted naive Bayesian algorithms on the basis of the multiple regression MLW and BC. Now, simultaneously, each attribute will also determine the impact size of each attribute on the basis of weight. MLW and BC makes W and BC more rational. A weighted naive Bayes classification algorithm, the study results of which classification obtained data sets in UCI database, indicate that the algorithm has strong properties and is capable of enhancing accuracy, reducing consumption time. The data collection, estimates all attributes and certain properties have no influence on the results. Now, Xiaoping is now it proposed to use a multivariate statistical method, that is factor analysis, to identify predictor variables by their relationships and importance in order to approximate portfolio sensitivities to four chosen macroeconomic factors: market performance, real GDP, inflation, and unemployment. Market performance, real GDP, inflation, and unemployment. So these four are very important things. That's why I've repeated. Introduces and applies a multi-factor model for portfolio management of stocks. Firstly, the model is established. The portfolio will then be refined, and multi-factors will eventually be used to estimate portfolio sensitivity. Results so that improved results can be obtained by choosing the least associated variables. Now, Kyung-Jiang proposed enter-based weighted kernel linear regression, that CWKLR, classifies proposed for objects and face recognition. The middle of each class is used in CWKLR to provide information. CWKLR can then use the Tikhonov matrix to achieve a weighted classification projection coefficients. Experimental results show that relative to many state-of-the-art approaches, the classifier proposed achieves improved efficiency. Analysis and preliminary findings in 3 datasets indicate the efficacy and phase detection of the suggested algorithms for artifacts. Now, Zhu and Feng centered on the 110 kilovolt high voltage switch gear contact temperature results. Using the map-reduce model, the temperature regression model is developed by MLR, multivariate linear regression models, to analyze and process the monitoring point data, or rather. The effects of the estimation are evaluated by the F regression criteria. The results show that the longitudinal regression in the MLR could well be appropriate for the long-term tempering estimation for the high voltage switchgear communication with a slight variance. The inference is that the longitudinal regression of MLR has a high precision in long-term temperature prediction. Now, Tadahiko made the automatic design software for human equivalent phantoms with linear and exponential regression analysis was proposed, and analysis was proposed rather to increase the production performance of human equivalent phantoms. For antenna calculation, the components of the human phantoms are water, silicon emulsion, glycerin, sodium chloride, and agar. The software uses MLR and exponential regression analysis to create compositions that target the target fantasy. Now, the Zhang proposed new approach for intra-coding video based on MLR, multivariate linear regression. The proposed method used a linear regression model to learn from end-to-end predictions and the best intra-predictive block. The technology is developed in the realm of pixels rather than physical sprites. A separate model is qualified to optimize the model by using infra-prediction. The clean and succinct the style, but also delivers promising results. A suggestion is implemented into the HEVC reference program, or outperforming a matched anchor. These findings offer valuable information for video coding in the future. The experimental findings indicated the reliability of the proposed system and provided important insights into how classical video coding algorithms could be further manipulated. Now, another researcher, Ethan C. Jackson, told the contrast to contemporary methods in task-based functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI) for a MLR, or multivariate linear regression. A linear regression with ridge regularization and non-linear symbolic regression by genetic programming. The data for this project reflect an experimental fMRI framework for visual stimulation. For 10 topics, the linear and nonlinear models were developed with a further 4 refused for validation. Model consistency is measured by comparing R values, Pearson product a moment correlation in different contexts, including single-run self-compatibility, generalization of the subjects, and generalization between subjects as well. The suitability for modeling overfit strategies is determined with a separate resting state scan. The findings show that neither approach is necessarily or statistically superior to the other. Now, another researcher, R. Harimurthy, focused on the processing of educational data to predict the psychomotor domain of students. In this case, the method of linear regression is used. 4 regularizations were used during this point, namely no regularization, regression, lasso regression, and elastic net regression. So, in comparison, utilizing as an appraisal tool to sampling methods, cross validation, sampling at random, sampling as examples. The experimental result shows that an elastic net regression is the best regularization for cross validation rather and random sampling, as this regularization is the lowest predictive error. For cross-validation, MSE, RMSE, and MAE values are respectively 40.079, 6.330, and 5.183. So, in comparison, for random sampling, the MSE, RMSE, and MAE values are 86.910, 8.428, and 6.511 respectively. Now Yang worked on a statistical model and used MLR. The MLR analyzes the interval projections. MLR model has been developed which focused airplane material consumption based upon a study of the cases, fitness test, t-testing, and residual tests. And a detailed and reliable regression model have been validated. And evaluated. The model indicates the use of aero material replacement pulse is permanent and successful. The results provide a realistic and analytic estimate of aero material consumption. Now, MLR methods are used to quantify the details in the simulated world on Chinese medicine bone setting manipulation as well. A linear regression is used to predict the content of abstract knowledge from the manipulation. It's modeled the displacement and the angle knowledge of bone manipulation. Both medications and physical exercise helps accomplish the bone setting and bone movement mechanism. Well, a true and science forum assists students in understanding bone setting manipulation and practicing bone setting manipulation. There are efforts to enhance the education level, treatment standard, and heritage of bone setting in Chinese medicine. A linear relationship between a treatment and its effect on a dependent variable. Now, Srihori, according to Srihori, described article explains rather MLR rainfall prediction. It will help farmers determine crop yields, floods, or droughts can be evaluated together at the same time. The MLR technique was implemented in the state of Andhra Pradesh, district of Nellore in India. The analysis was designed to take advantage of the relevant rainfall findings as a basis of linear regression. The researchers have applied the MLR method, estimate the values, and the MLR rate much less simple rather linear regression. MLR stronger than just linear regressions. Well, vapor pressure is a dependent variable, others are independent variables, and MLR is applied. Well, so another research group worked to evaluate the sales of big store and estimate future sales in order to maximize their revenues and make their brands much better and more competitive by generating customer loyalty. The technology used for revenue prediction is a deep learning linear regression algorithm. The revenue figures are from 2011 to 2013 and the data are expected for 2014 year. Well, so in addition, real-time 2014 data taken in real 2014 data compared with expected data to measure the predictability. They took data well. Now MLR model to predict the people worked on MLR model to predict the rice cultivation time, and the results showed how highest farmers exchange rate. The weather data shall be obtained using national statistical authorities weather focused and farmer exchange rate data, and the obtained data will be used to construct a regression model using MLR to detect the weather effort association. The factors are average temperature, average moisture, rainfall, and radiation from solar. Their effects are estimated, but their effects are mainly derived from the other factors. Prediction can be achieved by checking all the combinations of variables that cause a low RMSE value. This then is seen by the line diagram evaluations. So a cumulative RMSE of 0.39 to 1.34 in a suggested study in 2 separate regions. Well, so that's about all about this thing, regression, linear regression. Regression modeling is a statistical method commonly used in research, particularly for observational studies. The proper choice of regression model, the choosing and presence of model variables are the key actions which should be established and properly controlled in order to achieve valid statistical results, because the unavailability or misapplication of an appropriate regression modeling may cause to inaccuracies in results. This so that's it for the that's it for the linear regression model, linear regression algorithm, machine learning algorithm rather.